Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Them, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. And good evening, everyone. So today is a Wednesday night. We're all gathering at this time to practice meditation. So we have just finished our evening reflection by recollecting the Buddha's virtues, his compassion and his purity, and his teachings, which is timeless, and inviting us to see here and now, and his community who is practicing in line with the teachings, hoping to gain the enlightenment. Now this is time for us to reflect upon ourselves. By reflecting our own body, our own mind. So in the practice of our meditation, first of all, we have to reflect ourselves, the situation that we are in, the position that we are sitting, so we have to choose a comfortable position in a secure place, and leaving all the responsibilities that you are responsible for a certain period of a time, particularly during this meditation time. And leaving all those past activities that you have performed, and also stop worrying about what is going to be or things that you have to do. And this is the moment that you are reflecting yourself in the moment here and now. And obviously our mind is running 100 miles per hour or maybe more, constantly working, constantly running like in a hamster wheel, lost into the thoughts and worrying about the plans and the future. And suddenly getting enlightenment is impossible. First, we have to slow this mind down to see clearly what's happening, why it is happening, understanding the cause and effects, the actions that we are performing, the behavior that we are having. So our first task is to slow this mind down. And slowing this mind down, again, our mind always needs an object. Without an object, our mind doesn't work. Now, rather than letting this mind to choose whatever object it pleases and run after it, we are offering an option. So giving this mind to play with primary object. So we have chosen, intentionally choosing an object where we will try our best to keep this mind on that object. So in this process, we will be controlling a little bit. We are controlling this mind just to keep this mind onto the object. And the object that we are talking about, mainly we are talking one or another between the breath coming in and going out through the nostrils, or observing the rising and falling of abdomen as breathe in and breathe out takes place. Now, whichever object you feel familiar and you feel comfortable, you have to adapt that object and working with it. Now, first we have to excel on it. We have to be skilled on it first before we are moving on to further development. Without establishing our mind on this object, the primary object, or learning to keep this mind on this primary object, it would be difficult to learn other things since we haven't quietened this mind. And this practice of paying attention to the primary object, also known as a focus attention, is really, really important. It's very essential in the development of the practice. So that's why now and then, almost most of the time, I've been introducing everyone to familiarize with the object and work with the object. A lot of people I have found, they haven't worked with the primary object, but they are thinking of the higher knowledge and higher consciousness or attainment of great wisdom. But in a practice, it's not about you're jumping from first to the 10th level immediately. When you know the first level, ins and out, and you can stay with it, a 10th level becomes the first. There is no difference when you are climbing a ladder. The first and then the 10th ladder, the step, would not be different at all if you know how to climb the first ladder. So practice of a meditation, that's why it's very essential to work with the primary object, choosing the object and working with it. And it requires quite a bit of a controlling the mind, but it's not the end of the practice. So initially we try to control rather than letting it running around into different thoughts and ruminating into plans and then worrying and things. We take control over it, letting it stop on the object that we have intentionally chosen. So either the breath or the abdomen we will use. So you have to choose whichever you feel comfortable and whichever you feel more empirical and helpful to keep the mind working with it. Once you are working with this primary object and gradually your mind settles, then the rest of other things will come. You will be able to tame this mind. You'll be able to train which way you want to keep this mind, which path you want to follow. And whichever path you want to follow, then you can take this mind on that. You become a master of this mind. And in this moment, it's not about controlling the mind. It's not about full control over it. We are learning how this mind works, nature of it, how it functions, and what conditioned it to function in that way. So with that, we are deepening ourselves, journeying into the mind, so journeying inner self inside our own mind to see how it is functioning, how it is conditioning, And that is only possible when your mind is fully focused and controlled and you know how it works. Until then, we have to work again and again with the primary object. Needs a lot of patience, a lot of perseverance, dedication, and determination. Without working hard, paying attention to the primary object and try to focus on it and establishing it, it would not help you to develop meditation and you would not see the benefit of it. So much of the time we have to work with this primary object without thinking of any higher consciousness or higher knowledge. Work with the basics. Make the foundation strong. I normally give a simile of washing a clothes. Normally in modern days we wear one set of clothes only for a day. Now imagine after wearing this one day and when you go to wash or put into the washing machine, at least it takes about an hour to clean, to wash it. And then you have to dry it. Now think about our mind. How many years we've been using it without knowing it, without understanding it. Misery after misery we save into our mind, so many. And now coming to meditation, practicing a one-off, thinking of clearing all, do you think is it possible? It is impossible. For years, we've been collecting so many dirts in our mind and cleaning by one-off. Doesn't make mathematically correct. So it requires a lot of work. Our mind is running like a washing machine, so fast. Thoughts going on, so many thoughts rumbling and running and sweeping everything. So we have to stop it first. By diverting our attention from that ruminating thoughts to the one specific thought that we have chosen to pay attention to, and that is the primary object. The primary object, again, breath or the abdomen. Any other objects you can adopt as well, you can use it as well, but I would encourage you to choose either of these. Breath at the nose or abdomen, rise and falls. Once you are working with one of these, and if you need any help and support, I'm here. With others, I may not be able to help. If you are adopting other objects, I may not be able to assist for the development of meditation. You may have to find other teachers if you are following other techniques. So if you are willing to work with me at the center and also other trained teachers here at the center, then you may choose either of these, the breath or the abdomen, so that you will have friends to help you. So working with that. And in this practice, first, adopting one object, working with it, try to pay attention to the object. Let's say rising, falling of abdomen. When it rises and when it falls, consciously aware of it and mentally making a note of it. It is rising, it is falling. And discard any other thoughts, any other distractions, purely working with it. Or if you are feeling comfortable with the breath coming in and going out at the nose, just pay attention to it, breathing in and breathing out. Consciously aware that I am breathing in, I am breathing out. Whatever other thoughts comes or distractions, just discard them. Pay no attention to it at all. And with this, constantly practicing and gradually, you see that how mind is so flickering, so difficult to keep this mind on the subject. One or two times you may manage to pay attention to it and mind simply goes off. It's like a wild horse goes into the thoughts and then plans and goes on. And by the time when you realize it's been already so far away, it doesn't matter how far it has gone. The matter is knowing it. The very moment when know that your mind is so distracted, at that moment simply observe, acknowledge, and note that it's already gone and come back. So this is the simple task that we will be trying. We have one object which we pay attention to, and when the mind drifts away into the thoughts and wandered off, simply observing that wandering mind, doesn't matter when, the moment when you realize, observing it objectively rather than saying I should not be thinking or I should be paying attention to the primary object. Observing it objectively, acknowledging this mind is already gone from the primary object, noting that, okay, thinking, or simply perceiving that the mind is distracted. Once you have mentally noted for one or two times, the mind simply calms down and then bring that back to the primary object. So only two tasks. One, try to be with the object, and a second, when there is a distraction, simply observe, acknowledge, note, and let go. Back to the moment, onto the object, primary object. And this practice is like a pulling and pushing game. You choose to pay attention to the primary object. Mind doesn't like it. Mind would like to go somewhere it pleases, and it has been doing like this all the time, and we always please it by responding it. Now here in the practice, we are not responding it. We are not reacting to it. We simply know that it's gone. Okay, that's fine. Observe, acknowledge, and come back. So working with that primary object until you become familiar, and the next step will begin. Next step, you can learn furthermore. And this is how the practice begins and develops gradually. So with this in mind, continue practicing until the end of tonight's practice. So constantly practicing diligently, paying attention to the object and working with it. Whenever the distraction comes or mind lost into the thoughts, simply observe, acknowledge, note, and let go. Simply developing focus attention. So continue practicing. Okay, so do you have anything to ask or share? Anything? No? Good evening, Margaret, Karina, Tina, Yvonne, and everyone. If any one of you has got any question to ask, you can ask. Seems no questions. Okay, good. So in that case, we will finish our tonight's session by paying respect to the Buddha. Okay. Arahang Samma Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhaṃ Bhagavaṃ Abhivādemi Sawakkhāto Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Saṅgho Saṅghang Namami. Okay, so thank you very much. Thank you, Margaret, and good night, everyone. Good night, Karina, Yvonne, Paula, Tina, and good night.